John's 10 rules to life. Rule number 1, success only has 2 components. Today I'm joined by John Cottrell, a man who I've looked up to for over 10 years, a man who has pointed me in the right direction, and plenty of other people in the state and letting agency and other businesses. He is, what would you describe yourself, John, as?
Oh, that's a very good question, Chris. My specialist subject is emotion.
Okay.
So I use a process called breakthrough. So my moniker, if you like, in business is the breakthrough guy.
Okay, so we're doing a series of 10 videos, okay?
Yeah.
Your rules to life. The first one is success in life only has 2 components, financial and emotional. What does that mean? Talk to me.
So a lot of people aim for the financial success. We've talked about this a little bit before. They've got to have the toys, they've got to have the big house, the fancy holidays, all of these things which assuage the ego. But once you've done all that, thinking that this is what I need to make me happy, people have this epiphany, this moment, aha, where they realise that's not it.
Because I've got lots of friends who've had fancy, my friend wanted a 911, sorry, for years.
Yeah.
Got one, and after 3 months he got rid of it.
Yeah.
And cars and fancy watches and...
Yeah.
Is it you say it's an ego thing?
Yes, it's an ego thing. So when the ego is like a shield to the soul. And that starts when we're born. That's the separation from the mother, the separation from unity. And our purpose in the first half of our lives is to reintegrate ourselves. That's the ego, the soul together to create that internal alignment. And even in a Western liberal democracy, the best conditions for that to happen, most of us still don't make it. So we're still governed by fear, we're still governed by the ego. And that's the biggest challenge for anybody who wants to be happy in life, to be what I call emotionally successful, not just financially successful.
Because financial success you would class as rich. There's plenty of miserable rich people out there, isn't there?
Yeah, and plenty, if you look at the celebrities, how many have taken their own lives? Tony Hsieh, the shoe guy that sold his business to Amazon, committed suicide by setting fire to his house. Look at Matthew Perry, the guy from Friends. I mean, who could be more successful than him? He spent $7 million on therapy and still wasn't happy. I mean, this is crazy, right? And yet you could look at somebody the exact opposite end of the scale, hasn't got 2 halfpennies to rub together, in whichever country in the world you look, and you think, well, how are they happy? And generally, poor people are happy because of family.
Yeah, but rich people have family.
Yes. Go on.
But is it the way you interact with that family?
Yeah, of course. It's about your values.
I've come to realise in the last 5-10 years that if you give without expectation of anything in return,
yes,
I seem to be a lot happier with my lot.
Right.
Like doing these videos,
Yeah.
I do them for my mental health. Some people say, well, why do you do them? Why do you spend all that money on them? And you just say, well, I just enjoy doing them because it helps me on one level, but I know it helps lots of other people. And hopefully this video will help other people.
Yeah. So when we give unconditionally, and that's the key, love is the same. Whatever we give, if we give it unconditionally, the other person knows.
What? In their heart? Like...
Yeah. Deep down, they'll know. If you say to them, well, stop for a second, you did that thing with Christopher, how was it? And they'll know.
But then some people, that's making you vulnerable and also opening you up for being taken advantage of, and people don't want that.
It could. And this is where you have to trust yourself. So one of my favourite little videos is Arnold's 6 rules of success. Rule number 1, trust yourself. So if that internal radar, your gut brain, your enteric brain, is telling you something's wrong, pay attention to it.
Normally right, isn't
It's
it?
normally right. Yeah. So you've got a brain in your gut, you've got a brain in your heart, and you've got brains in your head.
Yeah, because you do say I've got a gut reaction.
Gut feel. Yeah. Do you ever say, I know in my heart something's true?
Yeah.
Right. That's what you pay attention to. Is that we have all these expressions in our language that explain all of this stuff, and then we have to go and talk to scientists. I forget the guy, Marvin, somebody, Sulu maybe, who wrote the book Embraining, which is about using multiple brains to get things done.
One thing that you taught me is that the word disease is that your dis is against and ease. So you're against,
That's right.
You're of the opinion that a lot of illness comes from a misbalance or unease.
Take all of it. If you said to a doctor, who would you rather treat, a happy person or a sad person? What do you think they'd say?
I'd say a happy person.
Right, because the happy person will get better and the sad person will struggle. You can ask them yourself.
I see it all the time.
Right, yeah. And what's interesting, you look at the work of Richard Barrett, he's got the data to show how different illnesses happen at different ages with the different genders because of the stage of psychological development those people are going through. And when you start to understand that, then you think, well, hang on a minute, then the cause isn't actually, we've got medical symptoms, but an emotional cause.
You think a vast majority of illnesses are caused by an emotional response?
Yeah, that's my point of view. I'm not saying science says that, that's my point of view. But there are quite a few doctors who've written books. John Sarno, Mind Body Prescription. There's a guy in the US who's a current doctor of psychiatry, has written about spontaneous remission. You know, why do doctors not investigate spontaneous remission? How come someone's got a cancer one day and it's all on the x-rays and all that, and then suddenly it disappears? He said, well, why don't people study that? And so he started to dig into it. And Sarno, the one I mentioned just now, while he was alive, apparently his colleagues used to take the mickey out of him, but then go and consult him privately for their own ailments. And this other doctor was saying that Sarno only was sort of accepted as being correct after his death. Until he died, they were taking the mickey out of him.
Okay, so everyone knows what financial success is.
Yeah.
Let's describe what emotional richness is.
Oh, right. Okay, Chris. So being emotionally successful is where you experience happiness and contentment in yourself. It's not something you have to work at. It's not that you have typically up days and down days. Talk about people having good days and bad days. You're fairly evenly contented with life. You're relaxed, you're calm. I'd say peaceful is probably the most...
Content with your lot.
Yeah, yeah. That doesn't mean you're not ambitious to do things, but you're not doing it from a place of not enough, which is important. There's a difference. So a lot of us where it's not enough, it's ego-led, then it's about me. And when I'm coming from a different place, it becomes about we. It's very different.
And what you're saying, to get that, you have to give without expectation of anything in return, allowing yourself that you might be taken advantage of, but that's just part of the journey.
Yeah, I mean, you have to resolve yourself first. That's the first thing you have to do. Some of the stuff we've done in the past, you have to resolve those things, let them go, release them. Then you're more able to take into account the needs of others if you've satisfied your own needs. So back to, your own oxygen mask on first. Then you're more able to deal with the needs of others. And what people start to realize is they see what's bothering other people once they've figured out what was bothering them. And then you can start to take the actions and put in place the strategies so that we rise. If I'm employing people, am I looking after those people to create the environment so they can be successful too? And if they're successful, guess what? They're making me successful.
Okay, let's finish this video now and we'll go to part 2 where it's all about taking personal responsibility.
Right.
Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Chris.